Hi, Posakis. Good News Planet. I'm speaking with Betsy Bober Polivy. Hi, how are you?
Fine, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Well, we're going to both be on Friday night here at the Actors Temple, and on the 339 West 47th Street, my temple. And I believe you're going to be speaking because you had a crazy idea, and I'm a crazy piano player. So early on in the evening, I'm going to play some piano. And
Oh,
But you're a little you're great. I love this what you did because I love talking to people and meeting people. And in 2011, you had a crazy idea. These are your words. I'm not going to say that. Why should I say that? Why do I got to get involved? All right. Okay. You had the crazy idea to walk the entire original Manhattan grid. Okay. Why did you have this crazy idea and how did you do it? And did you write a book about it also?
two books.
Two books. Well, there's a lot of streets. Okay, so it makes sense. So it's like one book the east side and one book the west side.
No, no, no. Should I take you back a little and just
Yeah,
give you some
I don't know
background?
what's going on here.
Okay, so I moved back into New York City and having lived in Westchester and raised my kids there, and I had owned a children's bookstore and had a book business for 25 years. And I sold that, came back into the city, and then said, what am I going to do that's meaningful, creative, keep me occupied and do something to help others. And I started just walking on the side streets and checking out all the small businesses because I had owned one. So it meant something to me to hear their stories. And I started collecting business cards. And then one day I shared with my kids and my husband that I had this crazy idea that I wanted to walk all the streets in Manhattan. And all in an effort to support and promote small businesses. This whole thing since 2011 is my passion project, I call it. And my kids surprisingly said, we want to make you a website. We think this is a great idea. You have to start on First Street and you have to go in chronological order and figure out where you're going to end. We then were invited to the Museum of the City of New York. They were having an opening for their new show, which was on the history of the Manhattan grid. So my husband and I went, and when we walked in, there was a sideways map of the original grid, and it went from First to 155th, river to river. So we both looked at each other and said, there you go. So I started on First Street and at the East River, and I walked, well, First Avenue actually doesn't start at the East River, but anyway, I walked from river to river, East River to the Hudson, street by street, multiple times, every single street. I also biked every single street. It took me 6 years until I reached 155th Street. And I met all the business owners and I heard their stories. And then I gathered wonderful, wonderful photographers over the years who took magnificent photos. So I have a website, sideways.nyc is the website. And it has literally every single thing non-residential on every single street, from obviously all the small businesses to parking garages, churches and synagogues, tattoo parlors, hair salons, I mean, fire departments, police departments, just every single thing that's on a side street. And every summer I would have college students working with me. And as I was working my way north, they were always rewalking the streets. And I was always keeping the website as up to date as possible, which I'm still trying to do. A little behind now because so much is changing so quickly throughout COVID. Okay, fast forward 2017, I finished and reached 155th Street, and my husband said to me, you need to document this, you need to memorialize your journey, you need to write a book. And it was always in my head that I wanted to write a book. And I started thinking about it, contemplating it, speaking to people in the publishing world, speaking to graphic designers, and then COVID hit. And March of 2020, I said, wow, I really have to do this. I need to celebrate and honor these small businesses. I need to do something to give them a shout out, to put a smile on their faces. And so for 6 months, I worked really hard and decided to self-publish. And the book is called sorry you don't have a copy there, but so the first book is called Walking Manhattan Sideways.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
and it celebrates all the businesses that have stood the test of time on the side streets, restaurants, bars, and just all kinds of fascinating places. And I was just so surprised at the wonderful reception that it received. Everybody was indoors, everything was closed. People were buying it all over the country. I said almost 50 states, not Hawaii or Alaska. Although the other night I did a Zoom talk and a woman told me that her son had moved to Hawaii during COVID. So she sent him a copy in Hawaii. So she said, your book is now in Hawaii too.
Great.
But all over the world, it's sold all over the world. People pay $50 to ship it to Australia, New Zealand, all over Europe, Canada. And they were living vicariously. They were reading these stories because they couldn't come to New York, and New Yorkers couldn't enjoy what was a block away from them. And people would send me pictures, or on Zoom talks, they would show me, and they had put little Post-it notes all through the book. And they said, as soon as we can, these are the places that we want to visit. So that was the first book, and it continues to do extraordinarily well, and it's helping the businesses. Everything about what I do is to help them. So this is so wonderful that they actually are getting attention from the book. So then here's the second one called The Art of Walking Manhattan Sideways. And this is the book that I always wanted to do, because this book's, in addition to all the wonderful restaurants and bars and fabulous little shops that I had discovered, this book also has many chapters devoted to the arts, be it galleries and small museums on the side streets, music, art, dance. They're all in here, theater, as well as magnificent churches, synagogues, mosques. I call it sacred spaces. The Actors Temple, your temple is in there. And not-for-profits, organizations that people don't know about that are so special, and the people who have devoted decades of their life to helping others, and I wanted people to know about them. So that's it in a nutshell, and now I'll breathe and let you ask any questions.
Oh, it's
that was
great.
what you're looking for.
It's great. It's great. I love it. And I'm hoping that I was able to go to your website, and that people that it did get recorded, because I tried, which I don't usually do, because the book is so beautiful that I wanted to include some of the pictures. So I gave it a shot. We'll see if it recorded. But recorded or not recorded, the book is good. You know what? Just in case it didn't, please take one of the books, open it up, and go through a couple pages of the beauty of it, some of the gorgeous pictures, and share. Throw it right in front of your camera, and let's take a look at couple of the pictures, and to give us a little, find a picture, find a business, find a story. I'm a small town guy from Westchester too. Okay, my dad had a Terry shoe shop, Tarrytown, New York. I grew up, and so small town. I'm in the Upper West Side. To me, it's like a small little town. So I'm very happy to have small town business. I'm very upset about big business that takes small business and puts them out of business. So the big picture here is that I love what you did, and I'm very similar. I love meeting the people that, that go through the difficulties, the ups and downs of running a business here and anywhere. It's not easy to be an entrepreneur, to run your own small business in quotes, but your small business is your big business. That is your life. My dad works 6.5 days a week. And so I'm very much looking forward to seeing, I don't have the book, as you said, but looking forward to, getting and seeing it. It's a beautiful thing. So give me a picture when you want of somebody and share an experience.
I absolutely will. Two things. First of all, I realized I should say, when you mentioned recording, in 2018, we had another crazy idea, and I started doing podcasts, and there's over 40 podcasts that people, wherever you listen to your podcast, can hear the stories of these business owners, and they're wonderful. And it's another way to share in our wonderful city. So yesterday I brought this book to, is this good? Can you see this?
Can see it.
Rainbow, yeah, okay, Rainbow Falafel is tiny little space on West 17th Street, East 17th Street, right off of Union Square. The address is 26 East 17th. So the father and the wife and the son, they've been there since 1992. They have the best falafel, and they're from Albania, but just wonderful Middle Eastern food. The space is so tiny that when I brought him the book, he couldn't even find a place safe to put it down. But he got tears in his eyes, and he kept saying, bless you. And this is why I do what I do. And I, of course, started crying and came out. My husband, he was driving me around to drop books off, and he was in the car. And I just said, thank you for letting me do what I've done. And this is why I do what I do. And besides the fact that it's a fantastic place, the food is so good, and they're just lovely people. I wanted more people to know about them. And then the other place that I went to yesterday to bring him a copy of the book is Punjabi, which is on First Street. And it was one of the very first places that I went into when I started on East First Street. It's 114 East First Street. They've been there since 1994. And this gentleman, he's so sweet and nice, but he never smiles. And yesterday when I opened the book and I showed him, he had such a huge grin, and the people lined up in there, also tiny little deli. It's where all the taxi drivers go. He has some amazing Indian food there, and they all were clapping, and they were just also happy for him. And I'm not a business someone once said, what's your business plan? I don't have a business plan, because that's not what I am. It's to put smiles on these people's faces. And so you asked me to tell you a story yesterday was a really special story.
I love it so much. This is magnificent. Really is magnificent.
And then my Zells, everyone needs to know about my Zells. This one makes me cry all the time too. 140 West 55th Street. She's right across the street from City Center. And I'm just sorry, I'm just quickly getting you the photo. Okay, here's Camilla. Oops. If you can see Camilla there, does that work?
Hi, Camilla.
Yeah. Hi, Camilla. Oh, and that's Sam's shoe repair. That's another wonderful story. He's from Russia. So Camilla is from Poland, and she came here in the 1980s under political asylum, and she was in her 20s and spoke no English. And she came here all by herself and was working 2 jobs. And the one thing she knew was how to make candy and how to bake, because her mom and her grandma had taught her. And ultimately, 10 years later, she was able to purchase this tiny shop on West 55th Street that's less than 400 square feet. I think it is the tiniest kitchen in New York. And here she has produced for 30 years these amazing chocolates and chocolate chip cookies dipped in chocolate. Outstanding. So I say this all the time, that I'm one of few New Yorkers who can say they have hundreds, if not 1,000 friends in New York. I'm sure you do too, because of what you do. But I've really established these lovely relationships with these people. And during COVID, I reached out to hundreds of them, honestly. Emails, texting, calling, just always checking up on people and hearing their stories. And sadly, a few passed away during COVID, which was just devastating to me. And one day, now I would say it's about a month ago, Camilla called me, and she was in tears. And she said, Betsy, I don't know what to do. And I thought maybe you could help me. And she told me her story, and I said, I'm going to hang up on you. And I hang up with you, and I'm on this for you. She was served papers from her landlord for several $100,000 for rent. from day one, and I know this because I always spoke with her and I was helping her to reach out all through COVID to city council people who were so helpful. And she wanted to pay rent. She just wanted to figure out, what can we do? How can we make this work? I'm not making any money. What can you do to help me with this? And they never responded. And then her lease was over in the summer. So she reached out saying, can we negotiate a new lease through her attorney, who's a pro bono attorney. Anyway, she served these papers. She didn't know what to do. She was beside herself. So I contacted city council people, Gail Brewer, Manhattan Borough President, who's been a wonderful advocate for what I've been doing all these years. Gail Brewer wrote the foreword to my second book. I think that's
Gail
special.
wrote the forward, you said?
Yeah, to the second book. Me too. Everyone does. And then I reached out, when the first book came out, I was on NBC on a morning show. I was on New York One. The New York Post did a lovely article, and everything was about talking about the businesses. I never wanted it to be about me. It's about my journey. It's about the book, but it's really highlighting these businesses. So I'm telling you, Paul, in 5 minutes, I heard back from all 6 people I texted, and they said, how can I help? Within a week, she had been on every network. The article was written a few weeks later, and I was there every day with her, and there were lines out the door, and people had seen this, and people were responding, and how can I help? And there's so many stories that go with this. It's a wonderful New York City story that we come together. We help one another. We really do care about one another.
I love it.
It's so special. And then the same NBC show that put me in the New York taxis, which was so fun, last week put her segment in the New York taxis. And she called me yesterday and she was giggling. She's like, people are coming in saying they saw me in the taxis. I said, I know, it's so great.
I love it.
So
I love it.
we haven't resolved her rent situation yet. That has not been resolved. But yet people are giving her the energy and the love to keep going, and we will resolve it. We will.
Magnificent. Congratulations to you. This is great. I'm into the same business, the same interviews with the same shoemaker, the same restaurant, the same little business. I love the people. I've done multicultural marketing and advertising for 36 years. That's what it is. You're giving them recognition and beauty and love. Let me ask you one last question, okay?
Of course.
See my images. I don't know if you do see it, but I have the happy faces and all the 5 major colors of the world, because we're all one, and that's the good news. So I thank you for doing what you're doing, and I look forward to meeting you on Friday night. Last question, because we're involved with World Peace, and this is let's see what happens here. Whoa, okay. I'm trying this new thing. It runs away, but that's Mother Earth from the moon. That's the photo, the blue marble, because we're all one, no borders, no boundaries. In any case, I'm a John Lennonist. It's all good. You're doing great. This is a great book. I look forward. My last question is, we're involved with World Peace, the International Day of Peace. What is peace for you, Betsy?
Oh, how interesting. To see people like Camilla at peace. She's so stressed. To see all these business owners feel the love and the support from New Yorkers and beyond. And now that tourism is officially back as of a few days ago when we opened our borders, that people will get off the avenues. I always say, visit the Empire State Building, visit the Met, go to all these wonderful places in New York City and experience them. But if you want to know New York, go to the side streets, go into these businesses and engage in conversation. People want to talk to you. They want to share their stories. Then you know New York. And that's not only for people outside of the city. If you live, you said, on the Upper West Side, go to Harlem, walk around Harlem. I love Harlem. There's so many places in my book on representing Harlem, especially in the arts world. Go to the East Village, even Midtown. And just, even when I would walk with my summer interns, we would stop And I would say in the middle of Times Square, it's 90 degrees out. There's literally 1 million people. And I would say still take it in. Look up, look at the architecture all the time and just absorb and appreciate what the city has to offer.
You're
Hope that was
fantastic.
too long.
Keep it up. Keep up the good work. It's the big picture is this is the picture of the world, and New York is just an example, the crossroads of the world. Some people say of other places, go all around the world. People are kind and loving and caring. A few are confused. Hopefully, we can help them unconfuse themselves. But the world is good, and it's all good news, and that's great. Betsy, I look forward. Friday night. I'm excited to meet you. Take care at the temple.
Yes, you too.
Everybody come on down.
When does this air?
Well, I'm recording now, so I'm not editing. So it'll air as soon as I can get it on. But it takes a while to do video, a lot more than podcast.
Of course, I know it
So we
well.
make it a podcast also. So you could even use it as a podcast, one of yours if you want. Whatever you want, you're welcome to use any of the video, anything we did.
Okay,
That's
great.
my
Thank you
thing.
so
I got
much.
the 50
Nice
years
to
in
meet
making shows. Nice meeting you. You take care.
okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.